And we are live. Welcome to this latest episode of Totally Unscripted. My name is Martin Hoxie, and I'm joined by Charles Maxon. Hello, Charles.
Hello, Martin. How you doing?
Not too bad. So you'll see that we're missing one of our regulars. So Steve, unfortunately, has had a family issue. So we're sending our best wishes to Steve. Without further ado, let's crack on. So we had a wonderful show last week. I think we're continuing that vein quite richly. So I'm just going to bring in Carlin, Yuen, and also Ben Collins. Hi, Carlin. Hi, Ben.
Hey, folks.
Hey, everyone.
So I'm sure many of you will know Ben Collins. He seems to be everywhere when it comes to data. So we thought only appropriate to bring Ben along to this show, particularly as Ben, you've had some early access to the product we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, that's right. We heard about tables at the start of this year, and it just sounded like what a fantastic tool. I could totally see myself using it. And so, yeah, as soon as I got the chance to jump in and test drive it, I was very keen. And I've been using it ever since, actually, pretty much. Sort of, kind of on a daily basis now. So definitely it's been a very helpful tool to me personally in my work.
And we've also got Carlin Yuen, who actually is the co-founder and product lead of Tables, which comes out of Google's Area 120. So welcome, Carlin. So can you tell us, actually, for our viewers, I'm sure some of them aren't familiar with Area 120, can you tell us a bit more about that and the particular sweet spot you're hoping Tables hits?
Yeah, no, I'm really happy to speak to all that, and thanks for having me on the show here. So to speak a little bit about Area 120, and we pronounce it 120. No worries, you wouldn't know that without
the Brits.
being part of the org. But Area 120 is Google's in-house incubator for experimental projects, and so a lot of these projects are early stage investments to explore new opportunities that could eventually end up graduating into Google's largest suite of products. I've actually really enjoyed working in Area 120. I've only been here a couple of years in Area 120 myself, and because it really gives us a safe space to experiment and try new things with products like Tables. So that's Area 120 real fast, but let me chat about Tables too. Tables is an Area 120 project, which means we're a fully staffed team of engineers, designers, product managers, and we're all building products and services on top of standard Google technologies. So, actually Tables is built on top of our internal version of Cloud Spanner, as an example. And although we use Google infrastructure and collaborate with teams in cloud, I think an important thing to call out is that being an Area 120 also means that we're not part of Google Workspace. So we don't fall under the same terms of service. We use the consumer terms of service right now. And this also means that we're an independent product in Area 120, and we're subject to more change. So products can get discontinued if we don't see enough demand and value for users and Google. But the good news is that we are seeing serious interest from Google users and customers across the world, and it really makes our team super happy to see people using it. I guess your question was about the sweet spot, and for folks who don't know what Tables is essentially a lightweight collaborative database for teams to track and organize and automate work. And you might be asking, well, like, why this lightweight database? Why Tables? Why now? And I actually spent a few years working on doc sheets and slides. And actually, my other co-founder, Tim, who couldn't join us today, he's on vacation now. But he also worked on the Sheets team for like a decade. And eventually, one thing that I realized was just that digital work is actually just a lot of busy work around a process. So much of digital work really just ends up with people needing to update things, share information, make sure information is up to date across the different surfaces. And yeah, it's work that needs to be done, but for every request form or project, there's some unfortunate person who needs to track all those requests and tasks and make sure they're all up to date and everyone knows what they're doing. And so ultimately, Tables, we want to help here. And this is about helping ourselves, helping our communities, helping all those people who now work remotely and find themselves lost in all those emails and documents and too much copy and pasting, help them organize their work a little bit more. So that's the crux of what Tables is about. It's a way to let you, me, or anyone in the world sort of organize and automate their work. And Tables sits in that sweet spot between kind of ease of use, flexibility, and structure for work tracking use cases. So you can customize a solution that fits your process, not the other way around.
Having better workflows for data is something I think myself and a lot of our viewers can completely relate to. I think there's a lot of Google Apps Script developers out there, particularly using Google Sheets, just hacking Google Sheets to get better workflows from stuff. We should probably say as well that tables, as you mentioned, it's in a beta now. So currently only available to users in the US.
That's correct.
But perhaps at this point, Ben, maybe given that you are, as I mentioned, the master of spreadsheets and data, and you've shared some amazing workarounds over the years yourself around Google Sheets and how you can use it as a productivity tool and process management tool. And as we've mentioned, you've had a chance to test tables. Are there particular features of tables that you thought these are big ticks?
Yes, I think the starting in a sheet and then thinking about what am I trying to do in the sheet that really the sheet isn't suited for, and it tends to be those information-rich. In my mind, I always think tables is for information, sheets is for data. Data is doing analysis, it's churning results, it's doing calculations and forecasting and charting, that sort of stuff. And then a lot of the other types of things I use sheets for, sort of project management. I'm running SheetsCon next year. I've got 150 tasks in a spreadsheet. Tables is the perfect solution for that because it's much more visual. It's much more intuitive. I really love the Kanban board, actually, which I'm going to show you later on, where I can, because I was never one for sticking up sticky notes all over my walls, but I was always sort of envious of people who did that. I thought it's kind of pretty cool. I should really go and do that one day. And then tables came along, so I can now do that, digitally. So yeah, I just like it for that visual. When I'm working with information and processes, it is better than sheets because you're not constrained the way you are with sheets into stuck in a row where it looks like a spreadsheet, and it's hard to differentiate all the different parts of that process. So for information, I think it does have a definite advantage and benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. A couple of years ago, Eric Cleet and I did a session at Next.
I remember that.
And it was, how do you turn spreadsheets into apps? And I always say, and kind of the impetus for that show that Eric and I came up with was, people use spreadsheets as a Swiss Army knife to all kinds of scenarios. And you find yourself actually programming a lot of things in spreadsheets to make them do things that they're not supposed to do. Yeah. All right, spreadsheets do a lot of things they don't supposed to do. And I heard through the grapevine, Carlin, that you and Tim were working on this project, and I was excited, and we met, and you showed it to me, and I've been floored ever since. And so with that, I'm just going to stop here and say no further ado. Carlin, can you show everybody who may have not seen it or doesn't understand it, can you actually share with us tables?
Yeah, absolutely. Martin, if you don't mind putting my screen on, perfect, excellent there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick 15-minute run through. This is going to be relatively fast, but I want to show you what tables is, what you can do with it, how you can really, again, kind of smarten up and streamline your workflows here. So here, this is the homepage of tables. You'll see there's some navigation on the left side, workspaces, tables, templates. We have a lot of templates that you can jump through to see what people are using tables for. But let me come back here to the homepage. These big cards this is a workspace, and there's a number of smaller cards which are tables within it, and we'll speak to a little bit more of this. But what I'm going to do is show you how you can get up and running in tables, actually importing from Sheets in a matter of minutes for a simple work tracker use case. So I've switched over to this sheet here, and this is just a standard looking sort of spreadsheet where you might have some sort of drop downs, and you can select, say here, the project for a bunch of tasks, a bunch of assignees, target date and status here, and some contextual links. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and import from Sheets. You can take anything from your drive. I guess that's populated right there. And once we import this in, you'll see it takes all that data and brings it in as kind of simple text columns. And let me kind of resize these a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But this looks pretty plain right now, but let me show what you can do in just a matter of clicks to add some structure and then take that structure to kind of elevate your workflow. So let me talk about this. This status column, if you look back over here, this used to be a nice drop down. You can select the different statuses. You can color it. Let's change it into this as well. So let's go ahead and double click or right click on this column header, and you'll see there's an option here to change the type, and we're going to change this type from text to drop down. it's going to automatically parse all the values in here and come up with a unique set and turn them into drop-down options. And so if we want to, we can also come back in here. We can sort of auto color all the options, or, in this case, I want completed to be green, in progress to be yellow, and not started to be white. And let's hit save. You'll see you update it in one place, it reflects everywhere else. And let's go ahead and change this text column into dates. Great. Now there's a little calendar icon. You can pick the specific date you want to match against. And what can you do with some of this structure? Let me give you a little bit of a sneak preview. Once you have these types, you'll notice you can start doing things that are a little bit more advanced. I can say group by all the tasks by month. So I can see what was done in March, what was done in April. I can group by quarter. I can group by the status over here and see all the things that are completed, in progress, not started. Let's kind of switch back to this assignee column. I want to change this from just text LDAPs. You see, this is just a bunch of LDAPs that I put in with the @ and but what I want to do is match this against the employees in our domain. So this will automatically parse through and find all those LDAPs and match them against your work profiles to come with your other coworkers. And now if I want to assign this task to Tim as well, I can autocomplete and search for Tim here if I like, and select him and assign him to that task too. And not only that, I could also group on that. So I can group by assignee. I can see the things that I have to do, that Tim has to do, so on and so forth. Now, this structure is nice, but one thing that's important that we've seen in a number of use cases is that people need separate views, because maybe I'm the project manager and I want to see the whole pipeline of all the work here. But maybe, for Tim, he only wants to see work that he needs to do. So let me show you how you could do that. One thing that's kind of powerful that we have built into the product is this idea of filtering. So we can filter and say, if the assignee matches Tim, and once we add that, we'll only see tasks that Tim has to deal with. We could also actually use this really powerful dynamic value, which is called current user. What this does is once I hit update, this will show, for anyone who views this view, they'll only show tasks assigned to the current logged in user. And what I can do with this is I can even save this. I can save this as a separate view called, assigned to me. And what this now allows me to do is I can switch back to this overall project view, and anyone else can come over here and just see all the things they didn't do. And in addition to that, of course, you can switch between a number of layouts. Ben's going to go over Kanban layouts, so I will save that for later. But you can switch, between grid. This is more of like a ticket queue sort of experience where you can work through each line item one by one. But I think this gets at the important point about tables and how it's different from sheets, which is that every row in this table is really like a database record. And if I, for example, come and right-click on this, and you can see all the changes for this particular record, this particular task or item. You could also open this up in what we call this record view. You work with all the pieces of information for that record in one. You can add comments and everything as well in all in one go. Let's chat a little bit about something that we brought into the product recently for folks who have already played with tables a little bit. We've started bringing in validation so that let's kind of explain this here. For use cases where you might have forms and use cases where you need to kind of control like character length, you want to control dates. That dates must be in the future. We're now applying validation, which goes all the way through from our forms to the UI surfaces in here through our API, so that you can really have strict control over the data and the integrity and cleanliness of that data. And the other thing that we've done too is a little bit more advanced filtering. So let me kind of explain what that is. Let's go ahead and insert a start date column here and make this another date. And just for the sake of this exercise, I'll just do only one date. Let's do 3/10/2020. Now you might think, well, that's weird. Why is the start date past the target date for this? And that's exactly what we want to kind of showcase here. One thing that we're now supporting for a bunch of sort of inventory or event sort of planning use cases is the ability to do something like this. You can take a column here and compare it to another column. So you can say, hey, if the start date is after the target date, then there's something weird here. Let's save this as a view where kind of like triage or something. We need to go find all the tasks where the start date is after the target date and go deal with those. So I'm going to go hit this X button here to kind of clear things out. I want to talk a little bit about bots. Bots is actually kind of the superpower of our product. And let me explain a couple things you can do here. First, we could we could really allow you to send notifications and emails and also even chat pings to support your workflow in whichever way you prefer. So let's do that. Let's have an email, email notification for assignees. And what you can do here is you'll see as you configure this bot, you have a number of different triggers you can select from. And you can, for example, trigger this email notification whenever someone changes a column, or you could do it on a time-based schedule, or whenever a row has been added or deleted. In this case, we'll say whenever the assignees have been changed. So if the assignee changes, and let's just make sure the assignee is not blank. So there is an assignee there. We can send an email. We can add a row, update a row, delete a row. We can send webhooks, which is really, really powerful, which I'll share later. But let's go ahead and send an email, and we'll send an email to the assignee. And let's template this email and say, hey, new task assigned. And you can not only customize the email body and subject, you can also insert really powerful variables. So let's say task assigned by, and you'll notice there's a little of a variable picker thing over here, and we can select, for example, the updater, and we'll say, hey, this will pull in whichever user, Google user comes in and updates this particular row and assign this task to this person. It'll include their email now in this email template. So, and of course, we could just say the task title, task, and status perhaps, and status. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Now that was nice. People also really like to use bots for, say, weekly reminders. And just to kind of show you this in a quick second, let's say we want to have weekly upcoming to-dos. And one thing we could do is use a time-based bot, and we can do this, say, every week on Mondays at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll go ahead and check to see if the target date is coming up in the next 7 days. And this could be, 28 days. It could be any sort of time period you want. But what this basically says is if the due date's coming next week, in the next 7 days, let's go send an email. And again, you can send an email to say, hey, I want everyone, all the assignees to be notified of our upcoming to-dos. So, okay, and I'll just hit save there. Now, one thing I want to show here is how you can also tie things with other parts of the Google ecosystem. So what does that mean? This email notification, let's actually copy this bot, I'm going to duplicate this bot, and turn this into a chat notification. So how does this work? We're going to go ahead and change this bot action from sending emails to using webhooks. And I've already actually set up this little call it it's an escalation channel chat room, but what we're going to use the webhooks feature in here. We're going to create one. We'll just call this task assigned bot. And once we hit save, you just copy this URL there, and we come back over here, paste that URL in, use this post with JSON format, which matches the Google Chat API. You're going to have to use this specific text parameter, but we can actually use that same templating mechanism. So task assigned by, and then we'll include those variables again, the update our email, and we can include, of course, the task as well as the status. And now, once I hit save here, let's test this out for real. So let's go ahead and assign this.
It'll never work. It'll never work.
Yeah, I know. Instantly, or pretty much instantly, there you go. We have that webhook fire. We see it was a task that was assigned by our test account over here with the name and the status. And so that's an example of how that could really, again, help you simplify some of these workflows if you need to in the handoffs. Let me see here on how I'm doing on time. I will show you.
You're doing great, and we got a bunch of questions.
Excellent.
But keep going, man. Show the product. This is awesome.
Okay. Well, I'll kind of get through the rest of it, and then show some respond to some questions. I want to show one feature which is really important, which is linking data together, right? If you think about it, I describe tables as a lightweight database, and that truly is the case. Let me explain why that is. Each table here, so this table of tasks, the table is the fundamental unit of, call it the fundamental container for this product. And this table tasks can actually be pulled into any number of workspaces that we want. So we have this example applicant tracker, for example. I could go ahead and just come in here and say, hey, I want to pull tasks in here too. And this is the exact same table that I was working off of earlier as well. And of course, I can remove it too. Sharing is also all done on this particular, on individual table level, not only at the workspace level. And when we kind of speak about this, I think the power comes from the ability to link these tables together. So let me explain what that looks like. So let's go ahead and create a table of projects. Okay, so why would we do this? Let's say we're tracking these tasks, but we would now want to level up this conversation. We want to find out what's the status of each of these projects, these different work streams. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create this table of projects. We're going to paste over some of these project names, and we'll call this project name, of course. Maybe we'll change this column. Let's change this to kind of like a project lead, and we can turn this into a person column. Let's just assign some people as leads there. Great. And I can take this column here, which is just text right now. I can basically convert it into what we call a lookup column. So what is happening here? When we do this, we call it a lookup to make it match a little bit more closely with what Sheets, Sheets VLOOKUP. But this essentially allows you to create a relationship between these two tables, tasks and projects, so that you can connect the data together. So let's show you how this works. We'll hit new relationship, and we're creating a relationship from tasks to projects. So we're going to do that, and we're going to select that project name column to match against. So what this will do now is it'll look through all these project names and match against the project names available there. And you'll see now the column has changed a little bit. It has this little second level to it that indicates it's tied via that relationship. And if I try to change any of these projects, when I try to modify this value, you'll see it shows a list of the records that you can pick from that projects table. And why would you do this again? Is to eliminate all that human error where you're trying to copy and paste or find and replace. Instead, that the list of projects that each task has to be tied to must come from a set of canonical projects that we've defined in the other table. This also means I can do something like, let's rename project A to A, and that will reflect everywhere else. So any table across the entire tables ecosystem will automatically get that update and have that data reflected everywhere else. If I undo that, of course, this will update momentarily. This also does provide some unique benefits in this projects table. So let's say we want to see project status for each of these projects. Like what's the status of project A with all those different tasks there? I'm going to go ahead and call this the status summary. And we have a column type that allows you to essentially summarize all the linked rows to each table. So let me kind of go through this to show you what this means. We know there's a number of tasks that are tied to the projects in this table. And we're going to select this relationship here. And we're going to say, we're going to summarize the status and use what we call count by value. I'm going to increase the density of this view a little bit and save that. But you'll notice it's filling in. And what it's doing is it's going through all those other tables that might be linked to this table, and at least in reading all the tasks from this task table and computing the status here. So you'll notice project A has 1 completed, 2 in progress. We can go ahead and find project A. There we go. There's 1 completed, 2 in progress. Let's go ahead and actually add a new option. Call this blocked. So this one's been blocked now with color red. And once we have done that, when we come back over here in a second, you'll see that's updated automatically as well, blocked and in progress. So this is kind of the power of databases and how we're trying to make it easier for people to use without having to, again, know how to code, know how to use foreign keys and all of that instead. All right, the last thing I swear I'll demo before I get to questions is we're working on how to continue to integrate with more of Workspace and Cloud, because we think that's really where the power is of having a tool like Tables within the ecosystem. So, this is a bit of a lightweight example, but one thing we've started doing is we've started supporting a feature to tie into Cloud ML models. So what does this mean? Let's say in this use case, this is a customer feedback demo. So imagine you want to set up a customer feedback form where people can submit, feedback responses, and you want to be able to go through, triage them, and so on and so forth. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create what we call a sentiment column. And actually, and this is only internal right now, so you're getting a sneak peek of things that are coming in the future. But we have what we call smart columns, and this allows us to tie in to use the Cloud ML sentiment analysis model And we can base this off of a column such as like the feedback column here. And we'll hit save. Now, if I, let's try it here real fast. Oh, this sucks a lot, not very happy. That will, of course, end up being very sad. If we said, this is awesome, oh man, love this product so much, this will, of course, then be analyzed and turned happy. And one thing that we can do is we have these forms that are set up, and I can actually copy this URL. And let's see, I guess I'll have to pass this along to Charles or Martin to pass along. But you folks can also jump into this form and fill this out. And I'll kind of walk through this with you here. So in this form, if I go ahead and type in, hey, we have this adoption blocker, not very happy, couldn't use this thing. We can submit this, and that will automatically come in here. And as you see, it'll automatically parse that content, run it through the model, and show the sentiment. But I think the real aspect of this that I think is really powerful is that that's great. Is that normally for a developer, it'd take let's say like you're a really effective developer, probably at least a couple days to do all this hooking up to Cloud ML, getting all this set up. And here in Tables, you literally did it in 2 clicks. You're able to use this, hook it up to everything, and hit save, and have it up and running without a stop. And of course, we can do everything from grouping on the sentiment too, so you can see all the people who are really happy, people who are not very happy, and so on and so forth. But with that, I'm going to stop my demo, and so I don't cut too far into Ben's time, and hopefully that gives you a sense of how Tables again can help you organize, automate workflows, simplify all this sort of copying and pasting of data in a way.
So first of all, every time I see something, there's something new that I get more and more excited. And I've been so excited about this project since you started, and it's now even more better. I want to highlight a couple of things that I'm seeing actually in the questions. And the first one I want to shout out to Drake Austin, who said the main reason he showed up for the show is because he wants to support it. It's a great tool. He says, great job, guys. So pass that on to the team. But a couple other people are kind of asking some really good, powerful questions, kind of about, I know this has, rich integration with Sheets. I also know that this is a beta product. And so, what does that mean as far as how do I plan to make sure that if, I can use this or not? And is a good fallback method actually working closely with Sheets, like tying the two together? Is there a way you can do that? And on top of that, actually, Shannon took it even one step further, and she wants to know, is there an existing way to use an existing Google form, there it is, that is bound to a sheet, but use that data to drive it into Tables? Is there interconnectivity between that? And by the way, before you answer, I absolutely love your forms package. It's built in, and I want to know how I can customize that, but that's my own personal question. What about Shannon?
That's a great question, Shannon, and Charles too. I'll kind of address them one by one. So actually, the first part about how do we think about using tables and getting the most out of tables while understanding that they're, may be subject to change? And I think there's a couple things here. One, just to make sure everyone, aware, there's always an option to export everything to Sheets. Sheets, if you think about it as a lightweight database, super easy. We can take this and it'll take all the data, port it right into there, and you won't lose a thing. And that's, that's really the easiest kind of worst case backup you have. The other thing to kind of note is we do support some ways to sync data into Sheets. And just to kind of explain how that works, we have a feature we call CSV link sharing. And this, to be honest, is a bit of a workaround. But what I can do here is actually, let's do this on the tasks table. I can go ahead and, thank you for presenting my screen again. But you have, again, the export option right here in this sort of little menu here. And over here, I'm kind of demoing a feature where you can copy this formula for a table, and I'll actually do this in a new tab in the sheet. When I paste this formula, it uses the import data function to sync everything in. And of course, you could, format and everything that you want here. Dates kind of show up in the kind of Sheets date, native storage type, and you can just format as a date too. But this allows you to kind of keep a synced copy of all the data in Sheets, and you can also do formulas, charting, and all sorts of other things in there too. But those are kind of two ways that people have really used tables, and then Sheets as well as a backup if need be. To Shannon's question there about forms. Now, I'll be honest, our forms are a little bit different from Google Forms just because, we're trying to move quickly to see how we provide new and different functionality actually in our forms. So you can't, unfortunately, use Google Forms with tables right now. One thing that we have done that makes it a little bit easy is if you take that form response sheet, you can import it into tables. And actually, if you click on forms and hit new form, it basically pulls all those column headers and instantly creates a new form out of it. So just to kind of explain what that means, there was no form on this table yet. And when I click new form, you'll notice all of the columns automatically turn into questions. And you can, of course, hide them. Let's say, start date shouldn't be done. Let's hide that. We can even set a default date for that value. And you can hide these questions, reorder them, and so on and so forth. But they don't tie directly to Google Forms right now, unfortunately.
Awesome.
I know what I want for Christmas. He says, based in the UK. +1. Well, Ben, I think this is probably a nice point as well. And I always feel bad when Carlin has clearly rehearsed that one once or twice. Super demo. No pressure, Ben. But no, I know, Ben, that you've done some work as well around Google Apps Script and tables and just some of the options there with interacting. Do you want to just give us some of your highlights with that?
Yeah, sure. And as you said, Martin, I'm afraid this is not going to be as polished as so think of this more as a sort of open-ended discussion where you can butt in and ask questions, and we'll see how we go. Also, I hope we get tables, globally as well, because I have some people in the UK I work with that are really, upset they can't work with tables, and I'm like, I've got this amazing tool, and I really want to share it with them. So, I know there's a lot of excitement over that side of the pond. So if you want to share my screen, Martin. Let me know. Okay, good. So we've got, so I said I use tables every day for my, I work for myself. So, this workflow is obviously not going to be for everybody, but hopefully it'll be pretty interesting just to see how these Kanban board views work. And what I kind of have done is created this hybrid calendar plus to-do list and sort of smushed them together. And I just really like the visual aspect of it, the flexibility, and so I'll just show you that. So right now, this is, probably looks pretty similar to what Carlin has showed. It's just a big bunch of tasks in a straightforward table. But up here, well, we've got the grid. We looked at the grid. Carlin showed you the queue layout. I'm going to click Kanban. Boom! Look at that. I love this Kanban. So now what I've got is a 7-day kind of rolling calendar, plus my a little store, the arrivals lounge I call it, where I just kind of stuff things that I'm not going to get to this week maybe, but I want to do fairly soon. And really I just use it as my daily to-do list. And what I like is, say if I choose Thursday, I had to prep for the Totally Unscripted show. And I can put some details, descriptions if I want, blah, blah, blah. When I've done with it, I've set up a little bot that we'll look at in a moment just to archive that. So I hit save, and that just disappears from that table, goes into my archives in case, I want to sort of keep track of those things. If I don't get to something, this item here, whoops, I can just drag that to tomorrow, no problem. So it's really nice. It's really easy to work with, easy to organize my week. So I tend to try and on a Sunday evening, just kind of sit down and set up my week, and the other nice thing is that sometimes I wake up and, really don't feel like doing my email. I'll just move that, right down to the end of the day. And then typically it gets bumped to the next day maybe, but I try and you can notice I've got an email on every single day to remind me to try and make sure I get to that. So yeah, what else? So I was going to show you the bots quickly because they are a little bit different than the bots that Carlin had demonstrated. And I've got this one called Archiver. So I'll pop it open. It's a change in the archive column. So I'll go back to the grid for a moment because then it's a little easier to see. So I just had this column right over here called Archive, which is just a checkbox column. here it is again. I'll open it. So whenever the archive changes, and then that's the column I'm interested in. What's the row condition now that's going to trigger the bots? It's when it gets checked. You could have it obviously to be unchecked. You could have it, to do something else if it was a different type of thing. And then the action it's going to take is to add a row. It's going to add a row into the archives table, and then here are some down at the bottom here, the columns and those template values there to fill in, to just pull out whatever the data is in the actual row itself. And then I just had this other bot was just to delete it in that Kanban view as well, so it disappears for me. Yeah, so this is, again, it's really easy to add stuff from the Kanban view as well, so I don't have to go back to that grids view. I mean, I never really tend to go back to that grids view, just sit here in the Kanban board view, and pretty much this is how I keep on track on top of my own work. This is a demo one I've set up. I do have a few more items on my own. I don't sort of wake up on a Monday and just, I have email and a bit of GitHub, a bit of BigQuery practice. That's it for Monday. I'll move on. So I had to remove all the stuff that I didn't really want to share publicly, but I hope you understand that. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you that one. That's, a view of the Kanban boards. I'll show you another Kanban board in a moment for something totally different. One other thing, I'll quickly show you this. Carlin sort of showed this, so I'll be really quick here, but I really like, when I have the grid view, I really like the different grouping. Right now I've grouped it on, by course, which might be, say, like project for you, for example, but I could also jump to priority and say, okay, what are my high priority items? Or I might look at the status, ones in progress, ones that have been fixed, ones I've decided are obsolete. So, this goes back to the idea of the sheets versus tables, and tables being much more visual. If these are rows in a spreadsheet, even if you color them, it's still kind of harder to get. You don't get this separation you do here, and the sort of summaries you get here, just to break these things up for more of a that kind of information project type work. Okay, so switching gears a little bit to the app script side of things. I was super excited when there was an app script service. So we have the table service here, which allows you to programmatically read and edit rows. So you basically have, to use the database terminology, the ability to do CRUD, which is create, read, update, and destroy or delete data. So, you can sort of get hold of your data programmatically in tables and pull it out, take it and put it somewhere else, or you can pump data into it or update data, when something else changes externally. So, you might link it to your CRM, or your client database, and have those two in sync or talking to each other. And I thought I'd just do a really simple demonstration, actually, because there's always a good chance that it doesn't work. So I want to keep it fairly simple. And I've set up a Kanban board because I wanted to keep it on the Kanban board theme. And here's a little Kanban board that's a pipeline for your recruitment, for your hiring. So, you get an application, you decide to progress with that application, you're going to move it across into the in progress row. And then you might make an offer, and then you might get somebody accepted or rejected the offer. And so I thought what would be really nice is when we move this applicant into the make the offer row, let's have a bot that triggers, uses the webhook to send data. And we're going to send it into a Google Sheet for now, but I thought it would be pretty cool if actually you set it to, it takes a draft doc template in your Drive folder, fills it in with all the details here, creates a draft email in your Gmail with all of those details as well about the offer, ready for you to just, quickly look over, maybe add a little bit of personalization, and then send on as well. So you could really use this, I think, to really automate and make this really a slick, streamlined process. So what we'll do is come over to a Google Sheets, set up the webhook, and then we'll come back and build the bot. and give it a test. So here we are, blank Google Sheet, sheet 1. Here's the
Go new ID.
yeah, I know, right? This is nice. So this is hot off the press, but we need to do post, right?
This is live coding too. You're
Wow.
brave.
You're brave, Ben.
More foolhardy, but we're going to keep it simple, as I said. Whoops, I'm now typing in the other one to the top. We're over here. If the type of E is not undefined, so basically we've got some data coming in. Oops. What we'll do is we'll get hold of the sheet. App dot get active sheets. I'm not necessarily doing the best code in the world here, obviously. Oops. And we'll call it data string. And what we're going to do is just stringify this for the moment.
It's like we're also getting another demo for the IDE.
Yeah, this is
It's like
awesome.
Yeah.
CD autocomplete for you people, CD inline, commenting.
Set
That was really
value. Okay, let me just check this for a moment. Oh, wait, hang on a minute.
How do you get error handling?
There we go.
There you go.
You wouldn't be a real live demo otherwise. Just make sure you don't think I'm like sort of this is pre-recorded or something. Okay, so we'll save. We need to deploy this as a web app, obviously. So we come in, lovely new deployment.
Wow, this is nice.
Web app.
Gosh.
We'll just call it.
You got competition, Carlin. You got new ID.
We need to set it to anyone, obviously, to make sure it can talk to the table, or the table can talk to it. Here we go.
This is the talk over part. Hey, a couple things while that's popping up. Just there it goes.
Yep. Yes.
Look there. Go ahead.
Okay. Allow. Great. So we'll copy that URL, and we'll come back. We'll go to a sheet now. It's blank. We'll come back in here. We'll come to the bots. We'll do new bots. And we're going to do a column change when the status column changes. And what we want is the status column to equal make an offer. I'm going to have to, I think I've just zoomed in. There we go. Get the add button back.
Oh, that looks like a bug. Thanks for catching that.
Live, that was my, I'm zoomed way in actually on Chrome, on the Chrome browser too. There we go. We're going to send to a webhook. We'll drop in that script URL that we just did. It's a post with the JSON, and let's just add one parameter, which is going to be name. We're at liberty to call it whatever we want there. So we'll call it name. We'll do column, and we'll click the name column and save. Here we go. This is the moment of truth now. So we've got the blank row. Just quick stretch. All right.
Good thoughts, people. And good thoughts.
Let's give this a try. We're going to drag it across. Applicant number 5. And there we go.
Yay.
There it is. So that's a string of data. And there we go. We've got the name applicant in the middle there, which is really nice. And obviously, what we could do is go on and I'll just copy this code in actually to save a bit of time. We can now add a bit more to it. So actually, if I just look quickly back at here, we need to go inside that event parameter, go to post data, and then go to contents when we sort of drill down inside the object. And so I've done here, I've gone inside the event parameter, passed it the JSON, and then pull out these 3 pieces. And obviously in the bot, I need to add those in quickly. We need to deploy this again.
Always catches me out.
Version 2.
So change the code, you need to redeploy.
Yeah, you don't need to copy the URL, thankfully. Otherwise, I'd really be in trouble. So we need to quickly update the bots just to add 2 more. And what did I call them? Position and location. So we'll call this one position, which is just what's the position of the job that we're applying for, the person's applying for. And then location, which you notice is a location one. So that's nice. We'll show you the map view in just a moment. And I think we're good. Let's give this a try. So this time we're going to hopefully get some actual past data into the sheet. So we'll drag in applicant number 4. Go back. Okay, so it's picked it up. We can see we've got applicant 4, position, and location. I've probably made a typo or something.
But you had to push it too far, Ben.
Yeah. So, but there we go. So it's really nice to build the, really easy to use that webhook. As Carlin showed it going into a chatbot, there it is going into a sheet. It could go into your CRM. It could go into, like we talked about, creating a draft Gmail or doc or something. So let me just show you quickly as well, since we're here, because this has got some places on, I can show you a map layout. They're all up over here, so maybe not super useful, but to see. But there we go. So that's again a really nice way of seeing this on a map, and it's quite hard to do this when you've got the database in a sheet and you're popping open that little sidebar with a tiny little map and all that kind of stuff. It's just built in here, and it's really nice to see. So the last thing I'll just mention very quickly is you can send data, like I talked about, back into into tables, and to do that you need to use the tables service itself, which would add under the services here, come to 120 and just add that. And you can change that identifier if you wish as well now in the new IDE, which is really nice. So we'd click add. That would show up on the side here, and then we could just use it the way we've used the spreadsheet app here as well. Okay, I think that we'll give. I want to make sure we got some time for questions and things.
Yeah, that's
Very
awesome.
nice,
We're
man.
doing a live demo. That's pretty cool.
I know you're bold. That was great. Actually, I think the row might have added, but at the bottom of your sheet. I think that's
Let's check.
what happened.
Let me have a quick check, because that would. Let's see.
While you're taking a look at that, we got a couple of questions coming in, and I want to shoot this one out at Carlin, if you could.
Oh yeah, of course.
So Drake and Scott have both said, while Ben was showing that, and I paraphrase, but they said, who needs my current tools to do this? Who needs Trello? Also mentioned using for social use cases. There's a lot of use cases here, I think, that people maybe you haven't even discovered yet, or I kind of think the sky's the limit, especially seeing that integration that Ben just showed. What is the sweet spot user that you're going for here? Because everything you're showing is no code. Ben showed a little code, small code. Obviously, there's some skill to that. But again, I was blown away internally. There's a bunch of sales teams using this to manage their customer relationships and their sales activities. They're using it, and they're not necessarily coders or technical folks. What is the audience for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I think you hit it on the head. We're really targeting folks who don't have coding experience, just because we think that's really where the need is in the world right now. Lots of small to medium-sized businesses that just need something to help them digitize all these workflows that they used to, do in person. And so that's kind of what we're going after. Now, as you see, though, we do have an API available. We have the AppScript service. We are not leaving our developers behind, because we know that they're really, really important to the growth and also just the overall extension of the product. But primarily, we think about tables as the tool to go to if you just want some lightweight tracking of, like we said, a customer, some tasks, a project, your to-dos, that sort of thing, tables is great for. And I think it's actually important to talk about what it's not great for too. On the other side, tables, although it's a lightweight database, don't use it to store, a million rows of your financial logs or something like that. That's not what tables is for on the other side. So,
there's a question regarding that about scale and about actually the technology you used. Can you actually share with us if this is something you can? Yeah. What is the technology that tables is built on?
Absolutely. I saw that question. I think it was from Rami, perhaps. So it's built on Cloud Spanner. Although, just to be very clear, I think in Google Cloud we offer like Spanner as a database you can use. This is our internal version of it. It's basically the same thing with some extra bells and whistles. So that's what it's built on. And what that means, though, is it's real standard Google production infrastructure. We have a lot of the same privacy controls, security controls baked in. It's all stored in Google data centers. Also, I know some people have asked about like kind of the security of the product. At a high level, we're going through ISO 27001 compliance right now. These numbers and certification. Yeah, I know, and like SOC 3 and all that. But we're in the process. It's something that takes a couple months before you get the rubber stamp. But it is in process for that. The one thing that we haven't gone the green light on is kind of GDPR, which is also why we're not available outside of the US for the time being. But in terms of security controls, we are working heavily on that. And the product itself is quite stable, from a reliability standpoint.
So Ben mentioned he's a team of one, and I know a lot of Googlers are actually using it internally. But we got a question from Ken Frazier, and I'm sure a lot of folks are asking the same question, specifically about kind of the usage rates. For example, Ken asked specifically, can the forms, can they be public, or are they to the domain? In other words, what type of solution is this? Is it intra? Is it inter? Is it everybody? I mean, how do you put it up?
Great question. We do plan, we built it to scale so that it can be for both intra and external use cases. So forms are public. You can also, just to be clear, you can share a workspace or table with a Google group within your domain, with people outside of your company, if you work with vendors or contractors or other people that you want to collaborate with individual gmail.com accounts. So it's really flexible in the same way that doc sheets and slides is as well. And really targeted for any sort of collaboration you might want to make, but for these types of work tracking use cases. Great question, though.
Awesome.
You touched there, Carlin, on no code, and so kind of the other no code products that Google recently acquired is AppSheet. So, in your mind, what distinguishes AppSheet from tables?
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great question. Actually, we get that now and then, and if you, obviously everyone here in this green room or whatever has seen Praveen's episode. And if you haven't seen it, you should totally see Praveen's episode about getting hooked on AppSheet from Totally Unscripted. But I actually think he does a really good job of setting the foundation for, how to think about this. If you think about the spectrum of complexity and the evolution of a workflow solution for like a team or a process, it ranges from, like people have said, a simple spreadsheet used just on computers to track a list of things, and can eventually evolve to really advanced flows that require role-based permissioning and personalized views and need to be accessible on any device. So tables, again, is actually really more of a lightweight database that has some real-time collaboration, rich desktop layouts, and simple workflow automation baked in. And it sits kind of early on that spectrum, if you think about it that way. Whereas AppSheet is truly a first-class citizen developer solution for building applications. And so AppSheet can be layered on top of any sort of database, including soon tables, as well as sheets, as well as anything else there too. And I think that's kind of really where we sort of see the difference, where AppSheet can radically simplify the effort involved with creating solutions for some of those more complex scenarios, those complex workflows. And we're actually working with Praveen's team to release an AppSheet and tables connector. So eventually you'll have AppSheet that you can layer on top of tables to provide an even more comprehensive toolkit for workflow solution creators kind of everywhere.
Any indication when that might come out? Or
Can't
sometime, maybe, possibly.
Can't promise anything,
really
but let's say we'll be testing it soon. So we'll be testing it soon. That's what I can promise.
I have to say, I really love the tables interface and what you've done there with, just how easy it is to, push data around different places and, using webhooks. That looks, it's like, oh, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should make an add-on for Google Sheets that replicates some of that functionality.
I mean, I think that's we as a team, we love that because ultimately it's about helping everyone just make their work easier, right? And I think one thing that's kind of important to call out is it doesn't have to be in tables, and tables is a great way to bundle all of it together in an interface. But like having this easier in AppSheet, in tables, in Sheets, in other parts of the Google ecosystem, I think that's the key for where we see all this fitting in the long term.
Yeah, it's the right tool for the right job at the right time. Yeah. But what I really love is the fact that they're all being connected, right? I mean, the fact that Ben just showed us how you can bring those two worlds together, and when you're talking about AppSheet, I think is crazy. One of the things that AppSheet's well known for is it's rich views and it's kind of really pretty interfaces. Do you have? And first of all, what blows me away, and you both showed in the demos, is just the use of different views, all these different ways you can slice and dice data and make it available for other people. I've made a career trying to do that in spreadsheets to share with people, but now it's so easy, and I love that. Actually, it's got a really nice mobile form factor. Do you plan on having like a version that is optimized for mobile with some of the views?
Yeah, that's a great question, Charles. I'll be honest, we're a relatively small team. Although we're a fully staffed and very busy team, we're relatively small. And so, to be honest, we're probably not focusing on mobile a whole lot in the near term. We're just really working on making tables even more powerful for the existing kind of workflow use cases that we have on for sort of desktop workflow and work tracking use cases. And we know, of course, AppSheet has great mobile views, and we're probably leaving AppSheet to that.
No, that's awesome. We're almost at the top of the hour, and I just wanted to ask you this. First of all, like I said, you showed new stuff today, or whatever. But what can we expect next? What should we be listening for, and when will we know more about the status of this project?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that we're really focusing on in the future is a couple extra layouts that we know people are really asking for. Calendar layouts have been really popular. A Gantt chart's been very popular. Sync, and then the other part is really bringing in syncing of data between the other sources, and I think that's been a really interesting request from folks because if you have other data sitting in other ERP systems, that allows you to work with that data in different ways. So I think that's another key piece. So just syncing data and working with integrating more with Workspace, and of course, like we said, some of these layouts. One last piece I'll just add to that is we know that the current relationship system inside tables is it's great because you can connect data between tables, but we don't support many-to-many relationships, and that's something we're bringing in soon too.
Well, I think, as Charles mentioned, we're close to the top of the hour. I just want to thank everyone who posted their questions. Sorry if we couldn't get to all of them during the show, and I know we had a couple of questions in before the show, and from Ken, Fraser, and Marco. So hopefully we've weaved those in seamlessly into the show. So thanks again, Carlin and Ben. I think we definitely need you guys back on, like the team demo hot ticket. And we look forward to hearing more about tables as it evolves as well. So we'll be keeping our ears to the ground. I'm just going to pick up a quick banner. So if you're interested in some of the stuff that's going on in that area, okay, all right, 120.
Yes, that's right. You got it, Martin.
Learned something. You can hit that URL and you can find out more. So thanks again to Ben and Carlin. So we're again here next week, same time, same place, doing some more cool and interesting stuff. So please join us. But until next time, thanks for watching, folks. And
thanks, everyone. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
And Carlin.